We are now talking to our friend, Nationals radio play-by-play broadcaster, Charlie Slows. Charlie, what's up, man?
I'm just hanging around and into my off season here. Still baseball to play. Get ready in about a half an hour to watch the next game of the World Series, which has been pretty interesting to this point.
You are the older version of your son. It's crazy how much your son looks like you. It's crazy. And if anybody doesn't know, Alex Slows. He does a radio show on our network. It's a wrestling show. He's taken a leave of absence because he's working over there at the news station in Tampa. He's doing a great job over there. And Charlie has been pushing his son through and really giving him the tips that he needs to be successful as a broadcaster. And he wants to do wrestling. Hopefully, soon enough, he'll be doing other sports where he has the opportunity to succeed like his father has over the last 30 years. But so, Charlie, before we get into baseball, how are you feeling? I know you were a little sick. How are you feeling today?
Oh, I'm good. I'm doing much better. The off season came, traveled home. As soon as I got home, came down with a head cold, if you're allowed to have one of those these days. Just a normal coughing, sneezing head cold.
I know all about it. Let me tell you. This is like, I don't understand the weather over here. It's like 70 degrees today. It's November 2nd today, right? It's November 2nd. Mm-hmm. It's November 2nd. It's fall. And it's summer weather. I don't understand it. I complain about it because we all know what's going on with our climate and everything that's going around worldwide. This is not good. I know a lot of people say, oh, this is great weather. It's not good weather because it doesn't help us for our future and for our kids' future for what's going on through worldwide. But all in all, I can't wait until it gets freezing out over here and cold, where I can actually enjoy the breathing method of, what I love about the winter. But anyways, let's get into some baseball. Obviously, there's a World Series going on. Philadelphia and the Houston Astros, two teams. I know you're not a big fan of the Philadelphia Phillies because you're a Nationals guy, but you have a player over there, Bryce Harper, who you know very, very well, who lost the opportunity to win a World Series with your Nationals when he was over there. And then they win after he decides to sign with Philadelphia. And then there's the Houston Astros, a cheating organization. I've attacked them. I think they have a great pitching staff. They have a great bullpen. Their lineup has not shown up so far in this series, and I think that right now is the answer to where this series is going. So what have you seen so far in the first three games? Obviously, we have Game 4 tonight. What have you seen that really shows you why Philadelphia has taken over this series?
Well, in Game 1, with Verlander pitching, and they're up 5-0, you're probably thinking, well, look forward to Game 2 because this game's over. And Verlander, who is amazingly, with the opportunities, that has never won a World Series game and couldn't hold a 5-0 lead. And the minute that the Phillies tied that game, 5 runs in 1 inning, they have scored runs in bunches and have had big innings in all of the series up to this point and just hit the tar out of the ball, especially when at home at Citizens Bank Park. But when they tied Game 1 at 5-5, Rob Thompson seized the moment, and from that second managed Game 1 like it was Game 7. He used his A bullpen and matchups in the 6th inning of that game. And in the 5th inning of that game, bottom of the 5th inning after they had tied it. From that moment on, he managed that game like it was do or die. The season was over if they didn't win that game. And obviously you have Castellanos make that great catch. Game 1 would have been over if he doesn't make that sliding catch in right field on a bloop to shallow right with the winning run on base. He makes that play, and then they get the run in the 10th inning and win the game. That was huge. And if you look at last night's game, on the other side of it, again, McCullers did not have good stuff. You could tell right away in the first inning, he throws a high percentage of breaking pitches, especially to left-handed hitters, doesn't throw any fastballs. Fastballs all go to the right-handed hitters. And then, they saw him late in the year when the Phillies had a finished season with that almost 2 weeks on the road, as that it seemed, with that road trip. And that's how they got into the postseason. They saw McCullers there, and McCullers is, just pitched part of the year because he'd been injured for over a year, coming back from arm surgery. So, who knows if he is 100% of where he would be if he pitched the whole season. But in the end, he didn't have good stuff. He gives up those runs in the first inning. Then it's 2 more home runs, and it's 4-0 after 3. And I'm thinking, well, he's not coming back for the 4th inning. And Dusty left him in. He gives up 2 more home runs. Nobody's ever given up 5 home runs, one pitcher, in a World Series game until last night. Now it's 7-0. If it's 4-0 and you get him out and you scratch a run here and run there, it's 4-2. Rob Thompson has to bring in his A bullpen to win that game. Once it's 7-0 after 5 innings, he's using mop-up guys. He doesn't have to touch that A bullpen, which hasn't pitched since game 1 because you have the extra day off with the rain out. So going into tonight, his pitching staff couldn't be in better possible shape with Nola starting.
I remember the last time you were on the show, you were not a big component of the DH coming to the National League, but definitely the Phillies, one of those teams that are striving off of that. So do you think they'd be there without that rule in place? And also, what do you think of the overall impact throughout baseball?
I thought I would hate it more than maybe. It really, I didn't think about it much this year because, we played with it in 2020 in the shortened season, and it was so inevitable. I really didn't miss pitchers batting because most of them are terrible. And, in the end, it was probably better for the game to play with one rule. But one of the guys who was so vehemently opposed to the DH coming to the National League was Bryce Harper. He was very vocal about it. And we had conversations about how he didn't really want to, when he's a free agent, I want to stay in the National League. I love National League baseball. I love the strategy. When you're playing, you're always kind of managing along with the manager. Is he going to take the pitcher out? Is he going to pinch hit? Or is he going to make a double switch here? And he goes, and when he couldn't throw because he has a partially torn UCL in his elbow and may need Tommy John surgery when this is all over, he wouldn't have played this year because he couldn't play the field. And he comes back from the broken thumb for 2 months. And I talked to him before he broke his thumb. Mm-hmm. And I said, how's your elbow? He goes, it's not good. I think I'm going to have to DH. He goes, now, isn't that ironic? I was so vehemently opposed to the DH. He goes, I wouldn't be playing this year. He wouldn't be playing right now. If we had the old rules and he's on the roster, he's a pinch hitter in the National League parks, and he's the DH in the games only in the American League parks. What would you have done with him in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs or first 3 rounds?
We are talking to Nationals radio play-by-play broadcaster Charlie Slows. It's so interesting when you watch the Astros pitch against the Yankees. They completely dominated, 62 strikeouts, completely took out their big bats. And the Yankees, as everybody knows, Charlie, we were talking about it today, they're all or nothing when it comes to hitting, except DJ LeMahieu and Benintendi, who were not in that lineup. And Bader, who they brought up, obviously after the trade, he was hurt. A lot of people took shots at I would say about the Yankees organization and obviously Cashman on why they made that trade, because Montgomery was having such a great season with the Cardinals, but he never pitched in the playoffs. And Bader comes in, he hits 5 home runs and completely dominates throughout and helps the Yankees get all the way to the ALCS and then walk into a wall of the Astros. When you look at this pitching staff, okay, and they have a very good pitching staff, even without Justin Verlander in the offseason, how good could this pitching staff be next year?
Oh, they're very good. What helped them was the COVID year in 2020 because Framber Valdez, a lot of these other young pitchers on that staff, because they had COVID outbreaks like everybody else, these were guys who came up and got a chance to pitch, and they pitched in the postseason that year for the Astros. So they had a chance to get established there, and it's really helped them. They have a very good bullpen. And when you look top to bottom, they have the best pitching of any team that's been in the postseason at this point. And you and I talked about this today. You could look at 106 wins for the Astros, best team in the American League. You can look at 111 wins for the Dodgers, the Yankees starting out, 52-18, but then they were, if you count the postseason, they were under 500 from that moment on to the end of the year. And so in baseball, you always say after 162 games, your record says you are what you are. You are the best team if you have that best record. But when you go into the postseason, how are you playing at the time that the season ends? How is your health as the season's coming to an end? The Yankees weren't 100% healthy. They didn't have the relievers that they were supposed to have. Even guys they traded for weren't healthy to be in that bullpen in the postseason. And how good their best relievers were in the beginning of the year, they were all hurt at the end of the year. So that was a big factor for them. Chapman, not the pitcher he was anymore, and not even on the roster for the postseason. So they really weren't the same team in the second half of the year that they were in the first half. And you could say that about the Dodgers to win a franchise record 111 games, the most since Seattle won 116 games in 2001. But look at the injuries they had to their pitching staff. Guys they didn't have or weren't able to start. You didn't have a true closer anymore. That didn't work out for them. They had a lot of injuries, both starting pitching-wise. Losing Walker Buehler for the year was huge. And so they were trying to piece it together. But even with guys that were healthy, they're 5 and dive, never letting their pitchers pitch past 2 times through the order, 2.5 times through the order, and go to the bullpen when you didn't have a deep bullpen to be able to do that, backfired on them. Really did. And San Diego ended up with better pitching and won that series. And I'll tell you what, San Diego was right there with the Phillies. Mm-hmm. And you got Bob Melvin, great manager with all he did in all those years with Oakland, with seemingly not a lot to work with every year. How many years was he in the postseason?
A lot, yeah.
But then to get into the bottom of the 8th inning in a do-or-die game, and you got Harper up, and I know you got a right-hander who's given up 1 home run to a left-handed hitter all year, but you got Josh Hader, who was back to form in that bullpen, and you left him in the bullpen. And Harper hits a 2-run homer off the left-hander, and everything changes, and it's over right there.